indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Councilwoman Barnum.
Here.
Councilwoman Hush-LaRay.
Here.
Councilman Perticone.
Here.
Councilman Seeley.
Here.
Supervisor Bello.
Here.
And Attorney for the town.
Here.
Item-
Actually, I'm going to cut you off real quick before we get to items for board action. Sorry. I have just one announcement to make for all those who are watching at home today and tonight. The town just announced earlier today that the grand opening for the Irondequoit Public Library, our new library, will take place on September 9th. So we'll be looking forward to opening the doors on the new consolidated library. Again, that's going to be on Wednesday, September 9th. It's the Wednesday right after Labor Day. And I do want to get this information out there because to accommodate the move schedule, which we're going to talk a little bit about tonight under the first agenda, or the second agenda item, we do have to move the two branches. So to accommodate the move schedule, the Pauline Evans branch is going to close on August 7th. That's the branch on Cooper Road. It's going to be closing next Friday on August 7th. And the Helen McGraw branch on Eastridge Road is going to close on August 14th. So the due dates for materials that folks have checked out that would normally fall within the time frame that those branches are now going to be closed will be extended to when the new library opens. So you don't have to worry about due dates of anything that's going to fall when your library branch is closed. And in addition to that, books or other materials that have been placed on hold and become available when the library branches are closed are going to be available for pickup at the Irondequoit Town Hall. And so starting on August 14th. So patrons who have placed any materials on hold are going to be contacted with details about that when their items become available. So again, it's very exciting news. Wednesday, September 9th, we're going to be opening the new library. The two other branches, unfortunately, do have to close ahead of that, but we'll still be able to function by extending due dates and by allowing folks to pick up their materials that are on hold here at Town Hall. Also, if you're watching us tonight it's also a big night at Town Hall. We obviously have the Farmers Market going on right now, and tonight is also our movie Under the Stars, Big Hero 6, which is going to start at sundown. So thank you for giving me the opportunity there.
No problem.
All right.
Okay. Items for board action. Bureau of Recreation, it's item 7 STB 2015-1. Adopt a resolution reauthorizing the award of a contract for tents, stages, tables, and festival accessories, and exercising 2-year option in consideration of equipment upgrade.
Okay, have a motion. In a second? Second. Thank you. This resolution is in regards to a bid that was opened by the town earlier this year, and the town board had acted to accept the first 3 years of the terms of the bid. But in consulting with the company, it looks like there's an opportunity to, as we know, the life cycle of the tent that we're renting. I think by both us and by the company, I think have agreed is coming to an end, and there's an opportunity for us to be able to access a brand new tent and give if we are to exercise the final 2 years option of that contract, and so from that bid, and so that's what this resolution does. It's allowing us to exercise the additional 2 years at the end of the 3-year contract. Which was contemplated in the bid. It was included in the bid, and this is the price that was in that bid. So I think this is a good deal in the best interest for the town, and I think in the best interest of our festivals, predominantly the Oktoberfest, which is fast approaching here. So, any other questions? No?
Just to clarify, for the new tent next year.
That's right, and the new tent will come next year. Yep, for next season, so we should have that next year. Okay? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Developmental Services, item 7 STB 2015-2. Adopt the resolution authorizing the hiring of a moving company for the town of Irondequoit.
Can I have a motion?
Moved.
Okay,
Second.
moved by John, second by Lori. This is a resolution authorizing, again, like I just talked about, the moving of the two libraries. We need to contract with a company to actually help facilitate the move. This was put out to bid. The lowest responsible bidder is Corrigan Moving Systems in the amount of $86,045. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 7 STB 2015-3, adopt a resolution to make a determination pursuant to Article 3 of Chapter 104, vacant and unsafe buildings regarding 55 Seacliff Drive, Rochester, New York 14622, tax map number 062.15-1-33.
Can I have a motion?
Moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. This resolution is the first of three that we're going to vote on tonight and really kicks off a new process as a result of our troubled properties legislation that we passed earlier this year, which came about through several public hearings and deliberations by the town board to try to do our part to address the vacant, what we refer to as our troubled properties, which essentially are vacant and abandoned homes in town. And so the process that was laid out was to start with the town board, where the fire marshal would come to the town board with a presentation and a recommendation to the town board on the condition of certain properties that are brought to our attention, and then giving the town board the authority and then the responsibility tonight to vote on the remedy, essentially, that we'll be ordering for these properties. So the town board is starting tonight at this meeting with a presentation from the fire marshal on 3 different properties in town, and then we'll take those properties one at a time, and the town board will make a determination on what it will order the owner of the property to do, to make sure that property follows the town code. So for this first property, the one that's on Seacliff Drive, Greg Merrick's our fire marshal, and I'll turn the floor over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. 55 Seacliff Drive is a property in Seabreeze. It's in an R3 or an R1 residential district by zoning, but it's an R3 construction occupancy. It's a wood frame, single family. It's built on a slab. There's no basement. It was built in 1940, and it has 946 square feet of habitable space. The utilities are all public, being the sewer, the gas, the electric. It was heated by forced hot air, and at the current time, all utilities have been shut off. The unsafe conditions that have been noted, it was the scene of a fire approximately 2 years ago, and the conditions have been consistent. There hasn't been any efforts to do anything, including removing of any debris that was left in the house after the fire. So for the blight conditions, I have that outlined in Exhibit B. Unsanitary conditions, also Exhibit B. Vermin and infestations in Exhibit B. The roof I have in Exhibit B. Building structure disrepair is in Exhibit B. And exterior windows that are unsecured are in Exhibit B, along with other, and I documented there are no addresses on the building, so the fire department, police department, or other agencies that would respond would have to figure it out and not be able to identify it readily. There has been a small history. In Exhibit C, you'll see for the code violations and law enforcement activity at that address. And I'm sorry, I could give you some details on those exhibits if you'd like. For the blighted conditions, there's an accumulation of rubbish and trash that are laying around on the lawn on 2 of the 4 sides. The grass and the weeds are tall, and currently the town has been cutting that grass. There are broken windows on the exterior, and they're poorly covered by sheets of unprotected plywood. And what that means is it's just regular sheets of plywood. There's no protection on them for the weather, so they're starting to warp and rot and fall off. The structure is deteriorating by a leaking roof, rotting ceilings. The walls and the floor system are starting to fail. There's a fence that helps to protect the backyard, and that's falling down and breaking apart. The conditions here are conducive to rodent infestation, and rodents aren't just the rats, they're the squirrels and the raccoons that we've had reports from neighbors that are coming in through the gaps that are in the boarded windows. Unsanitary conditions are the accumulation of the rubbish and trash that's laying around on the fenced side of the property. The tall grass and weeds again, the rotting structural content and material, and that would be the building itself, and the furniture that was in the building at the time of the fire was never removed. So that's still in there and exposed to the elements. Vermin infestation, as I said, it's the squirrels, raccoons that are getting in at the openings around the windows that have been boarded, but they're not properly secured. Roof drainage is in disrepair. There's evidence of rotting eaves and fascia boards on the south side of the building. There's moss growing on the entire roof, and in many areas the gutters are missing. Building is in structural disrepair due to the fire damage and by its current deterioration and rotting. Exterior windows are protected by unprotected plywood, and they're improperly cut. They're not the size. They were just nailed on there. It's been going on almost 2 years, and they're starting to deteriorate and fall down. And then again, like I say, the missing addresses. In my review of this, the property was posted not to be occupied on March 11th, 2013, the result of a working fire, and all the utilities were shut off. There's been no further mitigation efforts to make or protect the property, and it would be my recommendation that this building be demolished.
Who currently owns it, Greg?
I show the owner currently as a Donald Mahan, 31 Paul Road in Rochester, New York. That's the owner of record that I have.
Now, Greg, it looks like on I'm reading here the 3/11/13 is when the fire was,
That's correct.
but I see there are some violations prior to that.
That's correct.
Right, so this house, even though this isn't just right after the fire, it's...
No, what I did here is I did
Some
my
issues.
report on when the information became available to the fire marshal's office. That was at the fire. I do understand that there was some prior history there,
Yeah.
but at that time it was also occupied.
Right. I see that there was occupied at the time, so, I've gone by this house, and we'll talk about the others as well, so, Greg's recommendation is to demo the house.
That's right.
So that's the next step that we have, that's a decision we have to make.
That's right. So what the town board's going to be asked to do is based on the fire marshal's recommendation and the report that's in front of us, and I think as you go through it and refer to the exhibits, this is actually a property too that's been brought to our attention on a number of occasions, especially during the public hearings, as a significant blight, I think, in the neighborhood in which it exists and poses a public safety hazard. I think that, so what the town board's being asked to do tonight under our new troubled properties legislation is to vote on whether or not we should order this property to be demolished and removed. And upon that determination by the board, it'll commence a 30 days the service of a notice that will be given to the property owners. Within 30 days of service, the demolition or removal must commence, and it should be completed within 60 days after service of the notice. And if it is not done within that time frame, the town board will then meet again to act to provide authorization for the town to demolish and remove the structures, and to initiate a special proceeding to collect the costs and the demolition of those the cost of that demolition from the owner of the building, so that it would not come at the cost of Arundequoit town taxpayers. But at the end of the day, what we're seeking to achieve, which would be the demolition of the building and the structure, would still take place. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right,
Okay.
right.
The owner of the building would be afforded a hearing, which will take place after they're served notice, at which point, if the owner wants to challenge the ruling by the town board, in the direction they may attend the hearing and do that, the town board could reconsider based on that public hearing, if we so choose.
So, and there's no response from the owners on any outreach? They haven't responded to anything then?
No.
No,
No.
yeah.
No. No.
I don't have that much information on the contact with the owner, but through code compliance, they've reached out a few times, and that's why I'm saying that the town currently is even cutting the grass.
Okay.
Well, I think I gotta say a shame on him.
Yeah.
Leaving it like this anyway, and we'll go over the other ones as well too, but he knows that he's got it, he knows, you know what I mean? He knows what that property looks like and there's issues there, and he just leaves it, so yeah, we'll have to take charge and
Take some action and.
polish it.
and-
Well, the neighbors have
Yep,
asked us to
yep,
do it,
yep.
so.
That's right. And that's why we passed this legislation to do something like this. So, any other comment or question from the board? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
I also want to point out the document circulated is the notice,
The draft, Laura?
a draft.
Okay.
It's a draft notice, depending on some feedback with Carrie Ivers and
Okay.
and others. We'll tailor it to the specifics of each property. Tailored to the specifics of each property. It will be personally served on the owner of record or the administrator. We have one piece of property that the owner's passed away, so the administrator per state will be served this
Okay.
notice personally, unless we can't find them under reasonable notice, then it'll be mailed and nailed to the door of the property. It will also be filed in the county clerk's office pursuant to our requirements under town law, and the hearing will be held, I think we've now scheduled for August 10th for the hearing.
The hearing, yes, it's going to be 2 weeks. That's correct.
So
Yep,
I just
August
to make the
10th.
town.
Yep,
board
at the
aware
town board
prior to
workshop
order.
meeting.
Yes.
That's correct.
At
Yep.
the workshop meeting, so we'll have the hearing at the workshop
Oh, okay.
meeting. So the materials that are being laid out in the notice provision
Mm-hmm.
are the things that are going to be requested and served upon the owner.
That's correct. Yep. So they'll be served that draft, the draft that you have in front of you will be filled out. They'll be served that. And then if they so choose, they can come. The hearing will be scheduled for the workshop meeting that we have.
That's the 7th, or?
The workshop meeting is
I
scheduled
think it's the 10th.
No, it's the 13th.
the 13th, I'm sorry,
The 13th.
August 13th.
August
Yep.
13th, okay.
So the
Yep.
hearing, the notice hearing that you are ordering will include a hearing that, upon the order of the town board, the hearing will be August 13th.
Okay,
Right, okay. And what they will be notified is basically on the action that we had just took, that the town board, the resolution we just approved ordered the demolition and removal of the building. Okay?
And then if we can never reach the owners, we can still hopefully collect on what our expenses would be related to it,
It
That's
will go
correct.
against the property.
go against the property.
They
okay.
don't pay for the expenses, and that's provided under both town, the New York State town law allows towns to pass an ordinance providing for that, and then we have passed the ordinance as a local
Sure,
law
okay.
to do that.
They don't, what's the tax status of these properties? Like of this property? Have they paid their taxes at all?
I have title information on all of them, that in the event that they're not current on taxes and the tax liens have been sold, we're also giving notice to anyone of record, so that includes any mortgages of record, any tax liens of record, any judgments of
Okay,
record.
anything on the
We're
front.
also going to be mailing out to anyone that has recorded information on the property. We'll be mailing
I'm
that.
just curious as to whether or not they sort of acknowledge the ownership by paying their taxes, so.
I believe one is current on taxes, and don't quote me, but I think one is current on taxes, the Titus Avenue property is current on taxes, and the two others, actually, I'm guessing, but Enza, I think there's two property, you might not know, I realize I'm putting you on the spot. Okay.
That's okay.
Two
Okay.
No,
properties.
I was just curious,
Yeah.
but you're reaching out to everyone, so, yeah,
We are.
thank you.
And we did a title search as well, so we've made sure everyone who is on record will have notice of our
Good.
action.
Is there any way to ensure that he gets the hearing notice? Because I'm noticing that even some of the more recent mailings were listed not deliverable as addressed. Is there just not a better address for him?
So we'll have personal service of whatever we have on record, and then also mail and nail it to the building, and then, there's kind of only so much
Right.
Yeah.
legally we have access to.
And then I'm assuming once we go to demolition, this is going to be a bid process. I would assume, do we have to put this out to bid for demo?
Yeah.
It's not something the town does.
No, yes,
no,
this
no.
would have to go out to bid if
Right.
the town ends up being the entity that has to do this.
Okay.
So the property owner has 30 days to initiate the action on it,
Okay.
and 60 days to complete it. It's after that, if they haven't initiated the action on it, then the town board would have to act and start the bid process to be able to take down the building
Okay.
at the cost of the property.
Sure.
And within the notice provision, I just want to draw your attention, this section 3 of the draft notice lays out specific steps as required under our town code of what kind of action will begin an action, including a written plan of corrective action and reasonable evidence of financial ability or resources to complete the work. They're going to document how all code violations will be corrected, necessary steps to immediately execute and complete said plan within the timeframe specified herein, and then satisfactory completion, which will be done on an inspection. So the notice that's going to be going out to all the interested
Yeah.
parties will include specific steps of what we're looking for, or what the town board.
The way it looks, they're gonna have to demo it and rebuild it, is what's gonna happen if they wanna bring it up to code and everything, because that's where the properties are.
Probably cost less.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe a point of interest also on all three of these properties. They were posted today with a condemned sign under the state fire code.
Okay.
And so that's a 24-inch by 24-inch red square with a white 2-inch reflective X. So if we get calls on that, then I also will be notifying emergency services
Okay.
of what that
Okay.
means, because it basically it identifies, we feel that property is not safe, and there shouldn't be any reason to have to go in there. They're, to our knowledge, vacant. And so if there were to be a fire, that should be fought from an exterior position, so no firefighters are hurt. But there's always that chance that somebody's in there. So if we got a report that there was a vagrant, then they would have to do what they do. But it's just a warning for the emergency services.
Thank you for saying that, because I was just wondering, how will the neighbors know what's going on? So
That's
they'll
why I
see
want to
that.
bring it up, because I'm sure that they'll know, because that's
Great.
pretty obvious. The code requires them, and they require them to be on the front door and visible from the road, so they're visible.
This is a state code, right?
Yes, it's the state fire code.
Okay.
So if we get it back and end up, if we not get it back, but if we end up doing the demolition, how do the neighbors don't find out unless they call and ask then, right?
If the house is being demolished?
Yeah. I guess they wouldn't until they saw the truck.
Well,
show
until they
up.
saw it being demolished, correct.
Yeah. No, just
So, yep,
curious.
yep.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we have to identify the buildings to the condition they're in, so by
Yeah.
New York State code. So unfortunately, what'll happen is, on the Seacliff property, if you look at, you're gonna see the big red.
I think
The
there's a
red, right?
picture in the packet. It's a
Okay.
red
Yeah,
square
you'll
with
see
a
it-
white
we have it
X.
in our packets.
Yeah. yeah.
It's a requirement that it go up there. It obviously doesn't look attractive. However, it's the first step in taking
Yeah,
down the building,
sure.
so it's
It'll
not going to
look
be
good
there
anyway.
forever.
I know.
Okay, so it'll look better.
Yeah.
Help is on the way. It's going to look
Okay.
better. Okay. Any other questions about this one? Okay, so we can do the next one.
Item 7 STB 2015-4, adopt a resolution to make a determination pursuant to Article 3 of Chapter 104, vacant and unsafe buildings regarding 159 Montcalm Drive, Rochester, New York, 14617, tax map number 047.19-2-26.
Can I have a motion?
Moved.
In a second? All right. Greg, we're going to address now 159 Montcalm Drive, which again is another property that was brought to the attention of the town board on numerous occasions for basically being a blight on the neighborhood and asking the town to look into this. So, Greg?
Thank you. 159 Montcalm Drive is in the, off of Lakeshore Boulevard. It's a wood frame construction, but it's a concrete block shell. So the building itself is a concrete block construction exterior, but wood frame and wood roof construction. It's built in 1949. It has 1,146 square feet of habitable space. Also on the public utilities, water, sewer, gas, electric. It was heated by the forced hot air, and again, all utilities on this are currently shut off. The history I went on this was 5 years. It's about how long that this building has been vacant. There has been quite a history before that. Okay. On the conditions that I observed, for the blight, there was tall grass and weeds, and the town has been cutting that grass also. Broken windows on the exterior and the doors. Recently, the town had those windows and doors secured properly by a board-up company, and that was done with protective plywood and cut to fit so that the windows don't look so bad now. Structural deterioration, there is rotting on the roof. In fact, on one area of the roof, each side of a dormer, there's trees growing through the roof. I'm not sure if those are growing from the roof itself or from inside and growing up through the holes in the roof. Rodent infestation, again, here we've been reported by neighbors that there's been squirrels and raccoons seen getting in and out of the property. Not so much since we properly secured that with the company that the town had to hire. Unsanitary conditions, again, would be the weeds in the grass, the rotting structural members. You can smell the wood that's rotting if you're close enough. The rodent infestation, and prior to the actions, the town did have an action that we had to go in and clean the building up inside. And in your exhibits there, Exhibit B, you'll see some pictures of mold and rotting ceiling and floor.
Did you guys see that?
And that was over 2 years ago, or approximately 2 years ago, and those conditions have not been mitigated. So with the rain and snow we've received over the last 2 years, they've only been worsened. Roof is in disrepair, rotting members, structural and of the fascia boards. There's plug gutters. In fact, I think one of the pictures may depict that there's a lot of vegetation growing out of the gutters. What that does is when the roof drains, it doesn't drain into the gutter and down to the ground properly. Actually backs up, and it adds to the rotting on the. If this were wood frame, it would be even in the walls. And then this also has the missing address numbers. There has been a history on this property. It goes back over 5 years, but I know it's been vacant for 5 years. And it began my recommendation that this building be demolished and removed.
Great. Thanks, Greg. So you have all the exhibits in front of you to review, and you can see the history of the property. I went out and visited this property last week, and frankly appalled by what it looks like, and had a conversation with the neighbor next door about the impact that this property is having on the neighborhood and their street, and on her own property value, and also on her ability to make improvements to her property as well. And so I'm fully in support of what the fire marshal here is recommending in terms of demolition of this building. I think that would be a significant upgrade to this neighborhood as well. Anybody have any questions or comments about this one? So the resolution you have in front of you, again, make sure I'm looking at the right one. Yep. So the resolution you have in front of you is resolving that the town board orders the demolition and removal of this building on Montcalm. So, with no other questions or comments, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Greg, we got one more.
Item 7 STB 2015-5. Adopt a resolution to make a determination pursuant to Article 3 of Chapter 104, vacant and unsafe buildings regarding 837 Titus Avenue, Rochester, New York, 14617, tax map number 076.15-4-1.
Have a motion
Moved.
and a second.
Second.
Okay, and to give everybody context at home for which house this is, Greg, you're probably going to describe this one, but this is the one that sits at the corner of Titus and Brookview Drive, that, again, has been the subject of numerous phone calls and complaints to the town and numerous code violation history. Greg, if you want to give a
Oh, thank you.
presentation.
Yes, 837 Titus Avenue is the house that sits on the corner of Brookview. It isn't an R1 residential, but it's an R3 construction. That's a single family. It's of wood frame construction. It's a split level, has 1,900, it was built in 1960, has 1,817 square feet of habitable space. Again, all in public utilities, water, gas, electric, and it was also heated by the hot air furnace. At the current status, all utilities are off. Unlike the other two properties that I presented, this one here, the owner is known to be deceased, and I think that was about 5 years ago. For Exhibit B, in the blighting conditions, there's the tall grass and weeds are in the rear of the house. Now, this property is being cut by a management company, I believe, for the mortgager, but they're only doing the front lawn and a piece of the lawn by Titus Avenue at the corner. The back lawn and in the rear of the house, there's tall grass and weeds. There's deterioration on some of the roof. The gutters are falling off. A broken fence that's on the Titus Avenue side would be the north side of the property. That fence is broken. Unsanitary conditions, there's accumulation of rubbish and trash that are laying around in the rear. There's currently on the side yard, there's a muffler that probably came off of somebody's car and got kicked up there, and it's still laying there. There's a tree branch that came down at some time. The leaves are currently dead on it. A large blue tarp covers the roof, and the blue tarp is not an approved roofing material. For emergency measures, such as if you had a tree come down on your roof during a storm, you may use a tarp, but it's not to be used as a temporary roof. It's only for emergency measures. The eaves and fascia are, the wood is, the paint, I should say, is chipping and peeling off of some of that wood, so that's exposed to the elements. The windows and doors have all been secured, but there is a door on the back that's at the garage, and that door is attempted to be broken into. It's secured only by the fact that there's a hasp and lock that's securing that door, but the door is open, not for human entry, but for rodent. That's a prime place for rodents to want to get in. And again, this one is missing the proper addresses. I don't believe that this building is in the same shape as the other two buildings, but you can see by Exhibit C that this one has been a nuisance to the police department. There's a significant number of calls there. Some are for break-ins. Some are just a special attention. But it's because of its location, a significant, and now with the blue tarp, it draws a lot more attention, and I'm sure with that X, it's going to even get more. So it would be my recommendation here that the owner repair the roof properly and clean up the outside, because I do believe that structure is salvageable.
Okay.
And this is probably owned by a bank, I'm assuming.
To my knowledge, this is correct. It's owned by a bank. I don't have that information with me.
You know, is there like other information we can get once we find out a bank owns a property, like what, what's the next move here? I mean, if you're gonna put a roof on and try to fix it to the standards that the town would like you to do, I mean, what's the future of the home? I mean, I don't know. Is it on auction block or something? It'd be nice to know what their plan is, because it looked, it has been vacant for quite some time now, so.
And hopefully the registry that we created would help address that,
Yeah.
because all the vacant properties in town now, as part of the law that's allowing us to do this tonight, part of the law also requires all vacant properties be registered with the town, and as part of that registration, requires an action plan to be filled out. So we should, as these properties become registered, and this one's required to be registered, And we would have in writing then from the owner of record then what their plan is to do. So we can then, follow up on that.
And as soon as they find out this issue, then they should be letting us know what the plan is.
That was a little bit of the criteria that we looked
Yeah.
at, and presenting these three properties was the attention, the length of time, and their condition, and the fact that all three of them had a different category that we were looking
Sure.
at, and so we took one from each category and brought them before you tonight, and then we'll see how this goes, and there's some future properties, I'm sure.
Do you have any,
Oh,
do you have any estimate of how many more rise to this level in the town?
I got an estimate of about maybe 12.
Thank you, Greg. And yeah, as Greg said, this is these are just the first three of a number of these that we're going to do. So we're going to start the process tonight. Before we go, I just want to consult council one quick second on something.
In the interim, Greg, thank you. This is very,
Yeah, Greg,
descriptive
I mean, it's a
and
lot of work,
exhaustive.
and thank you. I mean,
Yeah, let me thank you for the accolades, but I want to tell you that it was a group effort. It was a
Sure.
teamwork. If Carrie hadn't been here to help me with the forms, and if I hadn't gotten the support from the supervisor and from Jeff, and he's only been here 2 weeks, and I've been in his office, I think, more than he has. And it was a team.
good.
It was a real team. And
Don't say that.
Courtney, really, it was. Well, that means he's been in his office a lot.
Great.
It was a nice approach, taking one from each category.
Oh, thank you. That was the supervisor's idea.
And again, I've looked at the properties, I've been around, I just went to Montcalm there last week, in fact, Adam and I were there, and, again, shame on the owners, and they know what they're
Yeah.
doing to the neighborhoods and the neighbors and everything else, too, so they
Poor
should
neighbors.
really,
Yeah,
you know,
I
really
hope that
pay
the
attention.
exhibits will identify the length of time that we've
Yeah.
had problems here, and
Absolutely.
those problems have been without resolve and
Yeah.
without answer. We've
Answers,
made
right.
notify, at one time, we did have some of the information on the ownership and the location of the owner, and we made contact personal. And then they relocated, and we've lost them.
Would you have been able to commence this action had we not passed the,
It might have been more difficult.
Okay.
Yes, there's always a chance, but you have to have a little more detail. Your two laws that you've recently passed or enacted, they were a great help to doing this.
because there was a house demo down in the Somerville area not a while ago, but it takes a lot more than, this.
Yeah, that was actually
This has a
falling
lot
down,
more-
and
This has a lot more teeth to it, so.
and the town hasn't done it, but we've had two other demolitions in the
Yeah.
past month as a result of fires in homes in this town.
Okay. All right, so before we vote, we're going to have to just hold tight for 1 second. We're going to be given one more exhibit to be added to this packet before we take action on it.
Okay.
So unfortunately, I'm just going to need everybody's patience for just 1 minute.
We could also verbally make the list of what the required repairs are.
Oh, that was on. Well, let's see if that's better to do. access. Sure.
Step by step.
Okay.
This is the missing Exhibit
Okay.
E that goes with your
Ah,
package.
this is
It
what I was
should
just
be
asking you about. Okay.
Incorporated with it. It will also be attached, if the town board agrees with the recommendations here, it will be attached as an exhibit to the resolution so that this is what your order.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Right,
This is
I
what
wondered,
you're
okay.
repairing, order repair of.
Okay. Perfect. Do you want to, Greg, why don't you read it for
All
us?
right.
Why, you can present it to us.
For 837 Titus Avenue, the order to repair and pursuant to Chapter 104, Article 3, and the Property Maintenance Code of New York State, is to make repairs and improvements to bring the property into conformance with the following. Section 302.4, correct unmanaged shrubbery and weeds. Section 307.1, remove all accumulation of rubbish and or garbage. Section 304.7, the roof flashing and gutters shall be maintained in good repair. And Section 304.2, all exterior surfaces, including but not limited to the doors, windows, porch, decks, etc., shall be maintained in good condition.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
All
Sorry
right.
this wasn't in
Thanks,
there.
Greg.
No, that's okay. All right.
This is your complete recommendation? from
That's
the
correct.
Repairs that you'd like to, you recommend for this property?
I think the only other thing may be that fence.
Now's the time.
Yep. Can we add
Okay.
the repair of that fence?
Yep. Okay.
So then this will be, not only reattach it to ours, but also it will be sent to the, with this?
Correct.
That's
Under
correct.
the, actually, I only made 5 copies.
Just keep it.
And I think what I would say about the fence is it can either be repaired or removed. Either one would be correct.
Okay.
Oh, here it is, I see. I see where it would be attached.
Okay. So you're going to add to the list of the repairs that the town board is ordering. We're going to add to that list the repair or removal of the fence.
That's correct.
Okay.
So that the complete resolution that we're adopting will be
Be amended.
the amended one.
The amended one.
Got it.
Okay. Which I think is a good step for that property there. I think it much needed. I mean, we can't solve everything about every house, but I think this addresses, I think, a lot of the concerns, at least that I had heard from, about that particular property. The blue tarp on the roof, which is clearly unacceptable and stands out like a sore thumb. It addresses that fence, that the photos of that fence are just are ridiculous, the rubbish, the garbage that you found and things like that. So hopefully we can at least bring the property up so it's not such a drag on the neighborhood, such a blight, but also prevent this, by ordering this fix and having this done, will hopefully prevent this house from falling into the situation that the other two that we just voted on did, where they ultimately have to be demolished. So hopefully this maintains some value to the property as well.
And you'll notice in the exhibit there with the pictures, I think Exhibit B, there's a couple of bottles. I think they were
Yeah.
empty liquor bottles, and they were found up
Yeah.
by the house. So it's evident that there's somebody using
Somebody's
the property
hanging out
for
there.
socializing.
Right.
And they haven't been able to get in yet.
Right.
This
And that's-
time.
and that's right, and that fits exactly what I'm hearing about it as well. People breaking into the house, people being around there, it creates a risk to public safety, which is.
Well,
what
we
we're
had,
talking about.
as you can see by, I think, Exhibit C, there were a number of times that the police were there for burglaries because the protective measures that were taken weren't to the extreme that we had them done. We have the protected siding, so it's painted so it won't rot and be a danger to the elements of the weather. And we use screws this time instead of nails so you can't pull the boards off. And they were cut to size. When you have protective coverings that aren't cut to size, you can get your hands in there and pull them right off,
Should I say that out loud?
which is the problem. We have a 55 Seacliff.
And then I also want to clarify the third order that we're making under section 304.7 regarding the roof, flashing, and gutters. just make sure it's clear that they shall be maintained in good repair using typical roofing materials, okay? And that's addressing
Approved.
Not a tarp.
the tarp.
Change the color.
We're not-
The code
we're not
does
allowing a tarp.
identify approved methods, and tarp is not one.
No.
And that has to be UV protected, it can be metal, it can be asphalt, it can be tile, and there's other elements that they can use.
But it can't be a big
But
bright
can't be
blue
a
tarp. No, okay. And so we're making that clear. Everybody okay with that?
Or a
All
sheet
right.
of plastic or anything else.
Great, thanks, Greg. Anything else? Hold on one second. Yep, okay. So, with a motion and a second, I'd like to take approval of this resolution as amended by the board. And as it's amended, remember, we're two things, using the typical roofing materials, and then also we added a section with the repair or removal of the fence.
Typical or approved?
Typical roofing materials. Which, approved.
That's what he
Yeah.
had suggested.
So.
And-
Typical or approved? Carrie?
Construction by normal means, was that the reference in the code, I thought?
It is the reference in, if there's a building code word,
Without reading that building code right now, I wouldn't be able to tell you the verbiage, but it would certainly have to be approved materials, and
Okay.
and maybe we'll just say the board's order is that it's in compliance with the building code.
there you
Yep.
go.
Oh, there you
There
go.
we go.
Excellent, thank you.
I'm certainly sure it will be asphalt when they do it, I assume, or an architectural, or, that type of home.
Okay, so with a motion and a second, I'm going to ask for approval with the amendments added by the board. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Greg. Before I ask for an adjournment, I do want to just take a couple moments and thank Greg, Carrie, Jeff, Nick Weatherby, who was with us, our entire code enforcement staff, the town board, our attorneys, Laura Smith and her team, and really everybody for their work on these. As you could tell just from the meeting tonight, the amount of work that goes into this is a lot. And we've asked a lot of our staff. We started with 3 properties this week. This is going to be an ongoing process. We passed a law a couple of months ago. It took effect on July 1st, and now we're really starting to get in there, deep dive on some of these properties that have become a nuisance, have become a problem that we've heard over and over about. And so we will be taking a look at additional properties in the coming weeks as they fit into the timeline too that has to be followed under the code. But these 3 properties we thought we would start with tonight so that we can get the process moving. Again, I just want to thank the staff for doing this, thank the board. Obviously, these are complicated issues too to work through. That's why tonight was actually a working meeting. We wanted to make sure we work through these issues, do it right, because you have to do it right up front, otherwise you'll get more issues on the back end. So, thank you everybody for that. With that, unless there's anything else, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this presentation of the Arundecoit Town Board on ICAT 12, Arundecoit's government access channel.